15 years, man, and all it took was one drunk weekend.
The foil packet crinkled between Trevor's fingers like a death certificate. He'd been helping his sister-in-law, Layla, move her luggage from the Vegas trip when it fell out of her makeup bag, silver wrapping catching the afternoon light streaming through Bridget's kitchen window. His hands trembled as he photographed it, then the wedding photos scattered underneath. Layla in a white dress, arms wrapped around a stranger, both drunk and laughing at some chapel altar. 3 days later, Devlin Cross stood in his garage workshop, motor oil under his fingernails, staring at the evidence his brother-in-law had just handed him. The photos felt heavier than the transmission he'd been rebuilding all morning. "I'm sorry, man," Trevor said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I thought you should know." Devlin's world tilted. 15 years of marriage, and his wife had drunkenly married another man in Vegas. The workshop's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead while he processed the betrayal. His hands, calloused from years of fixing other people's broken things, couldn't fix this. "Where is she?" he asked, his voice steady despite the earthquake inside his chest. "At Bridget's. They're doing some empowerment seminar planning." Devlin almost laughed. Empowerment. Right. He drove to Bridget's house in his old pickup, the photos burning in his jacket pocket. Through the living room window, he could see them, Layla and her sister hunched over laptops, probably planning their next adventure. The sight of his wife, beautiful and animated, talking to someone who wasn't him, made his stomach turn. He knocked once, then pushed through the door without waiting. "Devlin!" Layla looked up, surprised. "What are you doing here? We need to talk, now." Bridget stood up, her hackles raised. "You don't just barge into my house." "Sit down, Bridget." Devlin's voice carried a weight that made her sink back into her chair. He pulled out the photos, spread them on the coffee table like a losing poker hand. "Explain these." The color drained from Layla's face. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Devlin, I can explain. You're married to someone else." The words came out flat, factual. "While you're married to me." Bridget leaned forward, studying the photos. "Oh my God, Layla, what did you do?" "It was a mistake." Layla's voice cracked. "We were drunk. It was Vegas. It doesn't mean anything. It means you committed bigamy." Devlin sat down across from her, his movements deliberate. "It means our marriage is invalid. It means Jordan is technically—" "Don't!" Layla's voice turned sharp. "Don't you dare bring Jordan into this. Jordan's already in this. She's been in this since you decided to mess around with our family." The profanity hung in the air like smoke. Devlin rarely swore, especially not in front of Layla's family. But then again, Layla rarely married other people. "Who is he?" Devlin asked. "His name is Rico. He's nobody. Some guy from the bar. I don't even remember his last name. You married nobody." Devlin picked up one of the photos, studied Rico's face. Young, cocky, the kind of guy who probably called women mama and thought he was God's gift. "You left your husband and daughter to marry nobody." "I didn't leave anyone." Layla stood up, her chair scraping against the hardwood. "I made a stupid mistake." "No," Devlin said quietly. "A stupid mistake is forgetting to take out the trash. This is betrayal." He stood up, pocketed the photos. "I'm filing for divorce. Tomorrow." "Devlin, please." "We're done, Layla." He walked out without looking back, leaving her crying in her sister's living room. The drive home passed in a blur of traffic lights and half-formed thoughts. When he pulled into his driveway, he sat in the truck for 10 minutes, staring at the house they'd bought together 7 years ago. The white picket fence needed painting. The mailbox hung crooked. Everything looked the same, but nothing would ever be the same again. Inside, 16-year-old Jordan sat at the kitchen table, homework spread out in front of her. She looked up when he entered, her mother's eyes in her father's face. "Dad, you okay? You look weird." "I'm fine, sweetheart. Where's your mom?" "At Aunt Bridget's. Some women's thing." Jordan wrinkled her nose. "Why do they always have to make everything about female empowerment? Can't they just hang out like normal people?" Despite everything, Devlin smiled. "Your mom's complicated. That's one word for it." He sat down across from her, watched her work through algebra problems. She had his methodical approach, his patience with complex problems. Unlike her mother, Jordan thought before she acted. "Dad? Yeah? Are you and Mom okay? You've been weird lately, both of you." Devlin's chest tightened. "We're working through some things. Are you getting divorced?" The question hit him like a punch to the solar plexus. Kids always knew. They sensed the tension, the careful politeness, the way their parents stopped touching each other. "I don't know yet," he said honestly. Jordan nodded, went back to her homework. Tommy's parents got divorced last year. He says it's not that bad once you get used to it. Let's hope we don't have to find out. But even as he said it, Devlin knew they were past the point of no return. The photos in his pocket felt like evidence of a crime he'd been too naive to see coming. That night, he lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Layla slept beside him, her breathing soft and regular. She'd come home around midnight, slipped into bed without saying a word. He could smell her perfume, the same scent she'd worn on their wedding day 15 years ago. He thought about that day, how young they'd been, how certain. Layla in her dress, promising to love and honor him. The reception at the VFW hall, his brother Dean raising a toast despite just getting out of county lockup. Simpler times when he thought love was enough to overcome anything. Now he knew better. Love wasn't enough when your wife decided to marry someone else. The next morning, he drove to downtown Chicago, found a divorce attorney with good reviews and a reasonable retainer. Patricia Holbrook, Esquire, had silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Bigamy is unusual, she said, studying the photos. But it makes this easier in some ways. Your wife violated the fundamental terms of your marriage contract. What about custody? Illinois favors joint custody, but given the circumstances, we might push for primary custody. The mother's judgment is clearly compromised. Devlin nodded. How long? 6 months, maybe less if she doesn't contest. The bigamy complicates things, but in your favor. He signed the papers, paid the retainer, drove home in a daze. The legal machinery was in motion now, grinding toward an inevitable conclusion. There would be court dates, custody evaluations, asset division. The beautiful mess of a failed marriage reduced to paperwork and legal arguments. When he got home, Layla was waiting in the kitchen, her eyes red from crying. I know you saw a lawyer, she said. Trevor told you? Bridget did. She called him. He called me. Layla's voice was hoarse. Devlin, please, we can work this out. How? You're married to another man. I'll get it annulled. It was a mistake. I was drunk. You were drunk for 3 days? You accidentally took wedding photos? You accidentally wore a wedding dress? Layla flinched. I was angry at you. For what? For being boring. For being satisfied with this. She gestured around the kitchen. For not wanting more. More what? More everything. More excitement. More adventure. More. Devlin stared at her. I thought we had enough. I thought we had everything. Everything. Devlin, we have a mortgage and a 17-year-old car and a daughter who thinks excitement is getting an A in algebra. When's the last time we did something spontaneous? When's the last time you wanted to do something spontaneous with me? The question hung between them like a challenge. Layla looked away first. I love you, she said quietly. I've always loved you. But you married someone else. That wasn't about love. That was about feeling alive. And I make you feel dead. You make me feel settled, comfortable, like I'm 40 instead of 35. Devlin felt something cold settle in his chest. I'm 39, Layla. I'm 4 years older than you, and I don't feel dead. I feel like I'm living the life we built together. Maybe that's the problem. The words hit him like a physical blow. He sat down at the kitchen table, suddenly exhausted. So, what do you want? He asked. I want to fix this. I want us to go to counseling, work through our problems, be a family again. While you're married to another man. I'll fix that part. How? I don't know, but I'll figure it out. People make mistakes, Devlin, even big ones. He looked at her across the table, this woman he'd loved since they were kids. She was still beautiful, still vibrant, still capable of making his heart race when she smiled. But something had changed. Something fundamental had shifted. I need time, he said. How much time? I don't know. That night, he packed a bag and drove to Dean's apartment across town. His older brother lived in a converted warehouse, the kind of place that looked like it should be condemned, but somehow passed inspection. Dean answered the door in a tank top and jeans, his prison tattoos visible in the harsh hallway light. What's wrong? Dean asked. Layla cheated on me. Dean's expression darkened. With who? Some guy in Vegas. She married him. She what? Devlin told him everything, the photos, the confrontation, the divorce papers. Dean listened without interrupting, his jaw getting tighter with each detail. Jesus Christ, Dean said when he finished. That's cold. Even for her. I thought you liked Layla. I liked the idea of Layla. Beautiful woman seemed to make you happy. But I always thought she was a little... Dean paused, searching for the right word. Selfish. She says I'm boring. You're not boring. You're stable. Some people don't appreciate stable until they don't have it anymore. Devlin spent the next week at Dean's, going to work during the day and coming home to take out and old movies. His brother didn't ask questions, just provided a couch and occasional commentary on the Chicago Bears' chances this season. On Thursday night, Jordan called. "Dad, where are you? Mom's been crying for 3 days." "I'm at Uncle Dean's. We're taking a break." "Are you coming home?" "I don't know yet, sweetheart. Mom says you're being dramatic. She says she made one mistake and you're punishing her for it." Devlin closed his eyes. "What do you think?" "I think Mom's not telling me everything. She does that thing where she gets all vague and talks around stuff when she's hiding something." "Smart kid. Too smart for her own good sometimes." "I'll come see you this weekend," he said. "Okay. Dad?" "Yeah. Whatever Mom did, I'm sorry. I know she can be a lot sometimes." After he hung up, Dean looked at him from across the room. "Kid's got your number." "Yeah. So, what's the plan?" "I don't know. The lawyer says 6 months for the divorce." "And then what?" "Then I figure out how to be a single father." Dean cracked open a beer, offered one to Devlin. "You know what your problem is?" "What?" "You're too nice. Always have been. Even when we were kids, you let people walk all over you. I don't let people walk all over me. You let Layla walk all over you. She's been doing it for years." Devlin thought about that. "She's not that bad. She married another guy, Dev, while she was married to you. If that's not walking all over you, I don't know what is." The next morning, Devlin woke up to 17 missed calls from Layla. He called her back, expecting hysterics. "I'm pregnant," she said without preamble. The words hit him like a freight train. "What?" "I'm pregnant. 2 weeks late, 3 positive tests." "Is it mine?" Silence on the other end of the line. "Is it mine, Layla?" "I don't know." The admission hung between them like a death sentence. Devlin sat down on Dean's couch, his legs suddenly weak. "How don't you know?" "Because I was with Rico in Vegas and I was with you before I left." "Jesus Christ." "I know how this looks." "You know how this looks? Layla, you're pregnant, and you don't know who the father is. This isn't about how it looks. This is about reality. I need to see you. We need to talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. Get a paternity test." "I can't do that until the baby's born." "Then we wait." "Devlin, please. I'm scared." For a moment, he felt the old protective instinct kick in. Layla, scared and vulnerable, needing him. But then he remembered the photos, the wedding dress, the stranger's arms around his wife. "You should have thought about that before you married someone else." He hung up before she could respond. Dean emerged from the kitchen with coffee and a concerned expression. "Everything okay?" "She's pregnant." "Congratulations? It might not be mine." Dean's face went through several expressions before settling on disgust. "Jesus, what are you going to do?" "Nothing. Wait for the paternity test. Hope it's not mine. And if it is, then I guess I'm a father again." The thought should have excited him. He'd always wanted more kids, had talked to Layla about it for years, but not like this, not with uncertainty and betrayal hanging over everything. Over the next few weeks, Devlin fell into a routine. Work during the day, teaching shop class to teenagers who reminded him of Jordan. Home to Dean's apartment, where his brother was slowly getting his life back together after his second stint in prison. They watched baseball, ordered pizza, talked about everything except Layla. Jordan visited on weekends, bringing homework and updates on her mother's condition. Layla was apparently not handling the pregnancy well. Morning sickness, mood swings, crying jags that sent Jordan to her room with headphones. "She keeps asking when you're coming home," Jordan said one Saturday afternoon. They were in Dean's kitchen, making grilled cheese sandwiches. "I'm not coming home." "Ever?" "I don't know. Probably not." Jordan nodded, flipped her sandwich. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Did Mom cheat on you?" The question was so direct, so adult, that Devlin almost dropped his spatula. "What makes you ask that?" "She's been acting weird, guilty. And you moved out right after her Vegas trip. I'm not stupid, Dad." Devlin looked at his daughter, really looked at her. When had she gotten so perceptive? When had she stopped being a kid and started being a young woman who could read between the lines? "Yeah," he said quietly. "She did." "With who?" "Someone in Vegas, someone she barely knew." Jordan's jaw tightened. "That's messed up. Language. Sorry, that's really messed up." Despite everything, Devlin smiled. "It is. Are you going to forgive her? I don't know. Maybe someday. But not now. No, not now. They ate their sandwiches in comfortable silence, watching Dean tinker with an old motorcycle in the courtyard below. Jordan was handling this better than he'd expected, but then again, she'd always been resilient. Dad? Yeah? I want to stay with you. You are staying with me, every weekend. I mean all the time, I want to live with you. Devlin's heart clenched. Sweetheart, your mom needs you right now. She needs a therapist. I can't fix whatever's wrong with her. It's not your job to fix her. I know. But she acts like it is. She cries all the time and talks about how alone she feels and how much she misses you. It's exhausting. Devlin pulled his daughter into a hug. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. It's not your fault. Isn't it? Maybe if I'd been a better husband. Dad, stop. You're a good husband. Mom's just confused. That night, after Jordan went back to her mother's house, Devlin called his lawyer. I want to file for emergency custody, he said. Based on what? My wife is having an emotional breakdown. She's putting pressure on my daughter to be her emotional support system. That's not grounds for emergency custody. Has she been harmful? Neglectful? No, but she's not stable. Neither are most people going through a divorce. I need something concrete, Mr. Cross. Devlin hung up frustrated. The legal system moved slowly, methodically, without regard for the emotional toll on the people caught in its machinery. He understood the need for due process, but understanding didn't make it easier. The next week, things escalated. Layla showed up at his school, crying in the parking lot after classes ended. Several teachers saw her, which meant the whole school would know about his personal problems by morning. You have to stop this, she said when he approached her car. You're destroying our family. I'm destroying our family? Yes, you're being stubborn and prideful and selfish. I made a mistake, but you're making it worse by refusing to work through it. A mistake? Devlin's voice rose. Layla, you married another man. You're carrying another man's baby. We don't know whose baby it is. The fact that we have to guess should tell you something. She started crying again, the kind of sobbing that made people stop and stare. Devlin looked around the parking lot, saw curious faces in windows, felt his professional reputation crumbling in real time. Get in the car, he said. We're not doing this here. He drove to a coffee shop downtown, found a corner booth where they could talk without being overheard. Layla had stopped crying, but her eyes were red and swollen. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't mean to make a scene at your work. Then why did you... Because you won't take my calls. You won't see me. You won't talk to me. What was I supposed to do? Nothing. You were supposed to do nothing. You were supposed to let me process this in my own time. How much time do you need? As much as it takes. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. They sat in silence for a moment, the coffee shop buzzing with conversation around them. Layla looked tired, older than her 35 years. Pregnancy did that to some women, especially stressful pregnancies. I love you, she said suddenly. I know you do. Do you still love me? The question hung between them like a bridge he wasn't sure he wanted to cross. Did he still love her? Yes, probably. But love wasn't enough anymore. Love didn't erase betrayal. Love didn't make him forget the photos of her in another man's arms. I don't know, he said honestly. That's something, at least. Is it? It's better than hate. Devlin thought about that. I don't hate you, Layla. I hate what you did. I hate that you made me question everything I thought I knew about us. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. You hurt me in ways I didn't know I could be hurt. So what do we do now? We wait. We see whose baby you're carrying. We figure out how to co-parent Jordan without destroying her completely. And us? There is no us right now. Layla's face crumpled. Don't say that. It's true. Maybe someday there will be an us again. But not now. Not until I can look at you without seeing those photos. He drove her back to her car, watched her drive away with tears streaming down her face. The whole encounter left him feeling empty, like he'd lost something important without gaining anything in return. That night, Dean found him sitting on the fire escape, staring at the city lights. How'd it go? Dean asked. About as well as expected. You okay? No, but I will be. Dean sat down beside him, lit a cigarette. You know what I learned in prison? What? Sometimes the only way to survive is to become someone you never thought you'd be. Devlin looked at his brother. What's that supposed to mean? It means maybe it's time to stop being the nice guy. Maybe it's time to show Layla what she's really lost. I'm not going to become vindictive. I'm not talking about being vindictive. I'm talking about being strong, about showing her that you don't need her to be happy. I don't need her to be happy. Do you believe that? Devlin considered the question. I want to, then start acting like it. The next morning, Devlin woke up with a new sense of purpose. He'd been reactive for weeks, letting Layla dictate the terms of their separation. It was time to take control. He started by calling his lawyer, scheduling a meeting to discuss custody arrangements. Then he called a realtor, made an appointment to look at apartments. He wasn't going to live on his brother's couch forever. At school, he threw himself into his work with renewed energy. The kids responded to his enthusiasm, asking more questions, staying after class to work on projects. Teaching had always been his passion, but he'd let his personal problems overshadow his professional life. Mr. Cross? One of his students, a quiet kid named Tyler, approached him after class. You seem different lately, happier. I'm working on it, Devlin said. My parents got divorced last year. It sucked at first, but it got better. They're both happier now. Thanks, Tyler. That's good to hear. Are you getting divorced? The question was innocent enough, but it caught Devlin off guard. Why do you ask? My mom saw your wife crying in the parking lot last week. She said it looked like drama. Devlin sighed. Small towns. Everyone knew everyone's business. Things are complicated right now. Adults always say that. Kids understand more than you think. You're probably right. My dad says the hardest part about divorce is figuring out who you are without the other person. Your dad sounds smart. He is. He also says sometimes people need to break apart to figure out how to be whole again. That afternoon, Devlin found himself thinking about Tyler's words. Who was he without Layla? He'd been half of a couple for so long he'd forgotten how to be complete on his own. He decided to find out. He started small, cooking for himself instead of eating takeout, going to movies alone, reading books he'd always wanted to read but never had time for. He joined a gym, started working out again for the first time in years. The physical activity felt good, centering, like he was rebuilding himself from the inside out. Jordan noticed the change immediately. You look better, she said during one of their weekend visits. Healthier? I feel better. Mom's not doing so well. I'm sorry to hear that. She's really showing now, the pregnancy, I mean. She's huge. Devlin felt a pang of something. Not jealousy exactly, but loss. He should have been there for the ultrasounds, the doctor visits, the midnight ice cream runs. Instead, he was watching from the sidelines, waiting to find out if the baby was even his. How are you handling it? He asked. It's weird. I'm going to be a sister, but I don't know if the baby's my half-sibling or what would you call it? I don't know. Let's hope we don't have to find out. Dad? Yeah? What if the baby is yours? What then? It was the question he'd been avoiding, the one that kept him awake at night. What if the baby was his? What if he had to co-parent with Layla for the next 18 years, watching her raise his child with the memory of her betrayal always between them? I don't know, he admitted. I guess we'll figure it out. Would you get back together? No, not for a baby. That wouldn't be fair to anyone. Jordan nodded solemnly. Good. I don't think you should get back together anyway. Why not? Because you're different people now. She's pregnant and emotional and kind of crazy. You're, I don't know, stronger somehow. More like yourself. I'm like myself? You know what I mean. Like the dad I remember from when I was little, before everything got complicated. Devlin thought about that. When Jordan was little, he'd been more confident, more decisive. Somewhere along the way, he'd started deferring to Layla on everything, letting her make decisions for both of them. When had that happened? When had he stopped being the leader of his own life? I'm glad you noticed, he said. Are you going to stay strong? Even if the baby's yours? I'm going to try. Good, because I need you to be strong. Mom's falling apart, and I can't be the only adult in this family. The weight of that statement hit him hard. His 16-year-old daughter was feeling responsible for her mother's emotional well-being. That wasn't fair to anyone. You're not responsible for your mom, he said. That's not your job. I know, but someone has to be. She can't even make breakfast without crying. She's dealing with a lot right now. So are you, but you're not crying into your cereal every morning. Devlin laughed despite himself. Fair point. 2 weeks later, Layla called with news. I had an amniocentesis, she said. for the paternity test. And the baby's yours. The words hit him like a physical blow. He sat down on Dean's couch, trying to process the information. You're sure? 99.9% sure. I'm sorry, Devlin. I know this complicates things. Yeah, it does. But maybe it's a sign. Maybe this is our chance to start over. A baby's not a Band-Aid, Layla. It doesn't fix what's broken. But it's ours. It's a piece of both of us. So is Jordan. And look how that's working out. Silence on the other end of the line. I have to go, Devlin said. I need to think about this. Okay, but Devlin? Yeah? I love you. I know I screwed up, but I love you. I know you do. After he hung up, Dean looked at him with concern. Bad news? The baby's mine. Crap. I'm sorry, man. Are you? I thought you'd be happy. You're going to be an uncle again. I'm happy about the baby. I'm not happy about what this means for you. What does it mean for me? It means you're tied to Layla for life. Even if you divorce her, even if you never speak to her again, you're connected by that kid. Devlin hadn't thought about it that way, but Dean was right. There would be custody arrangements, child support, school events, graduations, weddings. He'd never be completely free of Layla, not as long as they shared a child. Maybe it's not such a bad thing, he said. Maybe it's a chance to do things right this time. Or maybe it's a chance for her to manipulate you for the next 18 years. That's cynical, even for you. I'm just saying, don't let her use that baby as leverage. Don't let her convince you to come back just because she's carrying your kid. I won't. Promise me. I promise. But even as he said it, Devlin felt the pull of obligation, the weight of responsibility. He was going to be a father again, and despite everything, that excited him. He loved being Jordan's dad, loved watching her grow and learn and become her own person. Maybe this baby could be a fresh start, a chance to build something new from the ashes of his marriage. Or maybe Dean was right, and it was just another chain binding him to a woman who'd already proven she couldn't be trusted. The next few weeks passed in a blur of preparations. Devlin found an apartment, a 2-bedroom place with a view of the lake. He bought furniture, set up a nursery, prepared for a future that looked nothing like the one he'd imagined 6 months ago. Jordan helped him move, chattering about school and friends and normal teenage things. It was good to see her acting like a kid again instead of her mother's emotional support system. I like your new place, she said, flopping down on his new couch. It's very... you. What does that mean? Clean, organized, no weird decorative pillows everywhere. Your mom likes decorative pillows. Your mom likes a lot of things that don't make sense. Devlin was about to correct her. My mom, not your mom, when he realized she was talking about Layla. When had his daughter started distancing herself from her mother? She's still your mom, he said gently. I know, but she's not acting like it lately. What do you mean? She's so focused on the baby and the divorce and whether you're coming back that she's forgotten I exist. Yesterday, she asked me to make dinner because she was too tired. I'm 16, Dad. I can make mac and cheese, and that's about it. Did you tell her that? I told her I had homework. She said homework could wait. Devlin felt a familiar anger building in his chest. That's not okay. It's fine. I ordered pizza. It's not fine. You're a kid. You shouldn't have to take care of your pregnant mother. Someone has to. No, someone doesn't. She's an adult. She can take care of herself. Can she? Because from where I'm standing, it doesn't look like it. That night, Devlin called Layla. Jordan says you're having her cook dinner and skip homework to take care of you. I'm not having her take care of me. I asked her to help out occasionally. She's 16. Her job is to go to school and be a kid. She's also part of this family. Families help each other. Families don't ask children to parent their parents. I'm not asking her to parent me. Then what would you call it? Silence. Then, I'm pregnant and going through a divorce. I need help sometimes. Then ask your sister. Ask your parents. Ask anyone but our daughter. My sister's busy. My parents think I brought this on myself. You did bring this on yourself. Wow. Thanks for the support. I'm not your support system anymore, Layla. I'm Jordan's father and your ex-husband. That's it. We're not divorced yet. Technicality. Is it? Because I'm still hoping? Don't. Don't hope. Don't wait for me to come back. This is our life now. Separate lives. Shared custody. Civil co-parenting. That's the best we can do. What about the baby? What about it? Don't you want to be involved? Of course I want to be involved. It's my child. Then maybe we could try again, for the baby's sake. No, we're not getting back together, Layla. Not for the baby, not for Jordan, not for any reason. We're done. You can't mean that. I mean it completely. After he hung up, Devlin felt a strange sense of relief. He'd finally said it out loud, made it real. They were done. The marriage was over. There would be no reconciliation, no second chances, no happy ending. Just two people who'd once loved each other, trying to figure out how to share children without destroying each other in the process. The baby was born on a Tuesday in March, 3 weeks early but healthy. Layla called him from the hospital at 2 a.m, her voice shaky with exhaustion and hormones. "It's a boy," she said. 7 pounds, 2 ounces. He's perfect. Devlin sat up in bed, suddenly wide awake. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Tired, scared, but fine. I'll be there in 20 minutes. "Devlin?" "Yeah. Thank you for coming. I know things are complicated, but he's my son. Of course I'm coming." The drive to the hospital passed in a blur of empty streets and racing thoughts. He was a father again. After all the anger and betrayal and legal maneuvering, he was going to hold his son for the first time. The maternity ward was quiet, all soft lighting and hushed voices. Layla looked exhausted but radiant in the way new mothers do, her hair pulled back and no makeup. More beautiful than he'd seen her in months. "He's in the nursery," she said. "Room 12. Devlin found the window, looked through at rows of sleeping babies. Room 12 held a tiny boy with dark hair and serious features, his fists clenched like he was ready to fight the world. "He looks like you," the nurse said, appearing beside him. "Same stubborn chin." "Can I hold him?" "Of course. You're the father, right?" "Yeah, I'm the father." She brought the baby out, placed him carefully in Devlin's arms. The weight was familiar but foreign. It had been 16 years since he'd held a newborn. The baby opened his eyes, dark and unfocused, and Devlin felt his heart break open. "Hey there, little man," he whispered. "I'm your dad." The baby made a soft sound, almost like a sigh, and closed his eyes again. In that moment, all the anger and hurt and betrayal faded away. This was his son, this innocent, perfect little person who had nothing to do with his parents' mistakes. "Have you picked a name?" he asked Layla when he brought the baby back to her room. "I was thinking Michael, after your dad. Devlin's father had died when Jordan was 2, a heart attack at 55. It was a good name, a strong name." "Michael Cross," he said, testing it out. "I like it." "Really? You don't think it's too traditional?" "I think it's perfect." They spent the next hour talking quietly about practical things, feeding schedules, pediatricians, custody arrangements. It was surreal, planning their son's life while their marriage dissolved around them. "I want to be a good father to him," Devlin said. "You will be. You're a wonderful father to Jordan." "This is different. Jordan and I have history. Michael and I are starting from scratch." "Maybe that's good. Maybe you get to build something new with him." "Maybe." When visiting hours ended, Devlin kissed his son's forehead and promised to return in the morning. The drive home was emotional, full of conflicting feelings he couldn't quite name. Dean was waiting up when he got back to the apartment. "How's the kid?" "Perfect, healthy. Looks like me, according to the nurse." "And Layla?" "Tired, but good. It was almost like old times, before everything got complicated." "Don't go there, Dev." "Where?" "Down that road where you start thinking maybe you can make it work. A baby doesn't fix a broken marriage." "I know that." "Do you?" "Because you've got that look." "What look?" "The same look you had when you married her. Like you think love conquers all." Devlin sat down on the couch, suddenly exhausted. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe sometimes love isn't enough. She made a mistake. She made a choice. There's a difference. Everyone deserves a second chance. Not everyone. And not for everything. Some things you don't come back from. Devlin knew his brother was right, but holding his son had awakened something in him. Some primitive need to protect his family. All of his family. Even the parts that had hurt him. Over the next few weeks, he settled into a routine. Work during the day, hospital visits in the evening. Michael was a good baby, quiet and alert, already showing signs of his father's patience. Layla was recovering well, though she seemed fragile in a way that worried him. "The doctor says I have postpartum depression," she told him one evening. "He wants me to start medication. That's probably a good idea. I don't want to take pills. I want to handle this naturally." "Sometimes natural isn't enough." Sometimes you need help. Like therapy? Like whatever works. Medication, therapy, both. Whatever it takes to get you healthy. For Michael's sake. For everyone's sake. Including yours. She started therapy the following week, and the difference was almost immediate. The constant crying stopped, the mood swings leveled out, and she began to seem more like herself again. "I've been thinking," she said during one of his visits, "about us. Layla, just listen. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you in ways that might not be fixable. But we have 2 children together now. Doesn't that count for something? It counts for everything. But it doesn't change what happened. People get past infidelity. They do it all the time. Some people do. Some people can't. Which kind of person are you?" It was a fair question, one he'd been asking himself for months. Could he forgive her? Could he trust her again? Could he look at her without seeing those wedding photos? "I don't know," he said honestly. "That's not a no. It's not a yes either. But it's not a no." That night, he called Jordan to check in. She was spending more time at her friend's house these days, avoiding the tension at home. "How's Mom doing?" he asked. "Better. The therapy's helping. She's not crying all the time anymore." "Good. And how are you doing?" "Fine. Weird, but fine." "Weird how?" "It's like I have 2 families now. Mom and Michael in one house, you in another. I feel like I'm visiting people instead of living with them." "That's hard. I'm sorry." "It's not your fault, Dad." "Well, not entirely." "What do you mean?" "I mean, Mom cheated and you left. Both of those things happened. Both of those things affected me." Her maturity continued to surprise him. When had his little girl become so wise? "Do you blame me for leaving?" "No. I get why you did it. I just wish it hadn't happened." "Me too." "Dad?" "Yeah. If Mom hadn't cheated, would you guys have stayed together?" Another loaded question. Would they have? They'd been drifting for years, living parallel lives in the same house. Maybe the cheating was just the excuse they needed to admit what they'd both known for a while. "I think we would have tried harder," he said. "But I don't know if we would have been happy." "Are you happy now?" "Getting there, are you?" "Sometimes. It's confusing having a new brother and divorced parents and all this adult drama, but I like who you are now better than who you were before." "What was wrong with who I was before?" "Nothing was wrong with you. You were just smaller somehow, like you were afraid to take up space." "And now? Now you take up the right amount of space. You seem more like yourself." After they hung up, Devlin thought about what she'd said. Had he been smaller before? Had he been afraid to take up space in his own life? Maybe. Maybe he'd spent so many years trying to keep Layla happy that he'd forgotten how to make himself happy. Maybe the divorce, as painful as it had been, was exactly what he needed. The custody hearing was scheduled for a Thursday in May. Both lawyers had warned them it would be contentious. Custody battles always were, but Devlin hoped they could keep it civil for the children's sake. He was wrong. Layla's lawyer painted him as an absent father, a man who'd abandoned his pregnant wife during her time of need. Devlin's lawyer countered with evidence of Layla's emotional instability, her inappropriate reliance on Jordan for emotional support, her history of poor decision-making. It was brutal and necessary, this public dissection of their failed marriage. The judge listened impassively as intimate details of their relationship were laid bare. The bigamy, the pregnancy, the months of separation. "I want to speak," Layla said suddenly, standing up in the middle of her lawyer's closing argument. "Mrs. Cross," the judge said, "your attorney is representing you." "I know, but I want to say something myself." The judge nodded. "Proceed." Layla took a breath, looked directly at Devlin. "I made mistakes, terrible mistakes. I hurt my husband, I confused my daughter, I put my family through heck. I'm not asking for forgiveness because I know I don't deserve it. But I'm asking for a chance to be a good mother to my children." She paused, wiped her eyes. "Devlin is a good man, a better man than I deserved. He's an amazing father to Jordan, and he'll be an amazing father to Michael. I'm not trying to take that away from him. I just want to be part of it." She sat down, and the courtroom was silent for a long moment. "Mr. Cross," the judge said, "do you have anything to add?" Devlin stood up, his heart pounding. "Your Honor, I don't want to keep my children from their mother. I just want what's best for them. If that means shared custody, I can live with that. If it means supervised visits, I can live with that too. I just want them to be safe and loved." The judge nodded, made some notes. I'll have a decision by Monday. Outside the courthouse, Layla approached him. Thank you, she said. For what? For not trying to destroy me in there. You could have. Your lawyer wanted to. Destroying you wouldn't help anyone. Maybe not, but it would have felt good, wouldn't it? Getting revenge? Devlin thought about it. Maybe. For about 5 minutes. Then I'd have to live with it for the rest of my life. I'm going to be a better mother, she said. I'm going to be a better person. I hope so. The kids deserve that. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? It was the question that had been hanging between them for months. Could he forgive her? Should he? I'm working on it, he said. The judge awarded them joint custody. Jordan would split her time equally. Michael would live primarily with Layla but spend weekends with Devlin. It was more than he'd hoped for and less than he'd wanted, the kind of compromise that left everyone slightly dissatisfied. But it was fair, and that was enough. Over the summer, they settled into their new routine. Jordan thrived with the structure, the clear boundaries, the absence of constant tension. Michael grew and changed, becoming more alert, more responsive, more clearly his father's son. He has your stubborn streak, Layla observed one evening during a custody exchange. Is that a bad thing? Not at all. Stubborn isn't always bad. Sometimes it's just persistent. Sometimes it's just survival. They were getting better at this. The polite conversations, the shared responsibilities, the careful dance of co-parenting. It wasn't the family Devlin had imagined, but it was the family they had. In August, Layla started dating someone. A therapist she'd met through her support group. His name was Gary, and he seemed nice enough, patient with the complicated dynamics of her situation. How do you feel about Mom dating? Jordan asked during one of their weekend visits. Fine. She has a right to be happy. Really? You're not jealous? No. Are you okay with it? I think so. Gary's nice. He doesn't try to be my dad or anything. He just exists. That's probably the best you can hope for in that situation. Do you think you'll date anyone? The question caught him off guard. He'd been so focused on work and the kids and rebuilding his life that he hadn't given much thought to romance. Maybe. Someday. Good. You deserve to be happy too. In September, Jordan started her junior year of high school, full of college prep and SAT stress and normal teenage drama. It was good to see her worrying about normal things instead of adult problems. Michael started walking at 10 months, earlier than Jordan had. He was fearless, the kind of toddler who climbed everything and feared nothing. Devlin loved watching him explore the world, loved being the safe harbor he returned to when adventures went wrong. He's going to be trouble, Dean observed during one of their Sunday dinners. I can see it in his eyes. All the best people are trouble, Devlin replied, catching his son before he could pull a lamp off the table. By December, they'd found their rhythm. Holidays were complicated, split between houses, careful negotiations about who got which traditions, but they were manageable. Christmas morning was bittersweet, watching Jordan open presents in 2 different living rooms, but Michael was too young to understand the complications. This is harder than I thought it would be, Layla said during one of their custody exchanges. What is being divorced, being a single mother, being responsible for my own happiness? Are you happy? Getting there, are you? Yeah, I think I am. And he was. Not the uncomplicated happiness he'd known in his 20s, but something deeper, more earned. The happiness of someone who'd been broken and put himself back together, who'd lost everything and rebuilt it better. Jordan graduated high school in May, accepted to Northwestern on a partial scholarship. She'd decided to major in engineering, following in her father's practical footsteps. I'm proud of you, Devlin told her at graduation. For what? For handling all this chaos with such grace, for becoming such an amazing young woman, for being better than both your parents. I learned from the best, she said, hugging him tight. You learned from your mistakes. That's even better. Michael was walking confidently now, chattering in the half-language of toddlers, full of personality and opinions. He loved trucks and music and his big sister, who doted on him despite the 16-year age gap. He's lucky, Gary observed during one of their joint family gatherings, having so many people who love him. We all are, Devlin replied, watching his son play with blocks while Jordan helped him build towers. In August, 3 years after the divorce was finalized, Layla got remarried. It was a small ceremony, just family and close friends. Devlin walked Jordan down the aisle as a bridesmaid, then sat in the front row with Michael on his lap, watching his ex-wife promise to love and honor someone else. It should have been painful, but it wasn't. It was hopeful, actually. Layla looked genuinely happy, more settled than he'd seen her in years. Gary looked at her the way Devlin remembered looking at her once upon a time, like she was the most amazing woman in the world. "You okay?" Dean asked afterward. "Yeah, I really am." "No regrets?" "About the divorce? None. About the marriage? Only that it ended badly." "But not that it ended?" "No, not that it ended." That fall, Devlin started dating seriously for the first time since his separation. Her name was Sarah. She taught third grade at Jordan's old elementary school, and she made him laugh in ways he'd forgotten he could. "She's good for you," Jordan observed after meeting her. "You smile more when she's around. Is that okay with you?" "Dad, you're 43 years old. You don't need my permission to smile." "I kinda do, though. You and Michael are the most important people in my life. And we always will be. But that doesn't mean you can't be happy with someone else, too." Sarah was patient with his complicated family situation, understanding about custody schedules and ex-wife dynamics. She got along well with Jordan and adored Michael, who called her Sawa, and insisted on showing her every truck in his collection. "This is nice," she said one evening as they watched Michael play while Jordan did homework at the kitchen table. "What is this? Family dinner. Normal chaos. This isn't normal. This is controlled chaos. Even better." By Christmas, Sarah was part of their routine, joining them for holidays and school events, fitting seamlessly into the life Devlin had rebuilt from the ashes of his marriage. "I love you," he told her on New Year's Eve, the words feeling both foreign and familiar. "I love you too," she replied. "All of you, even the complicated parts." Jordan left for college in August, tearful goodbyes in the dorm parking lot. Michael didn't understand why his sister was leaving, kept asking when she was coming home. "She's growing up," Devlin explained. "Sometimes growing up means going away for a while." "I don't want to grow up," Michael declared. "You don't have to worry about that for a long time." But even as he said it, Devlin knew how fast time moved. Jordan had been Michael's age just yesterday, it seemed. Soon enough, Michael would be heading off to college, too, and Devlin would be left with an empty nest and decades of life ahead of him. It was a good problem to have. On a warm Saturday in October, 5 years after his divorce, Devlin married Sarah in the backyard of their new house. Jordan came home from college to be maid of honor, and Michael served as ring bearer, taking his job very seriously. Layla and Gary were invited, not out of obligation, but because they'd all worked hard to build something functional from something broken. It felt right, having everyone there, all the people who'd shaped this strange, blended family. "You clean up nice," Layla told him before the ceremony. "Thanks, you too." "I'm happy for you. Really. I'm happy for you too." And he was. They'd both found their way to something better, something healthier than what they'd had together. It had taken years of therapy and lawyers and awkward custody exchanges, but they'd gotten there. "Dad?" Michael tugged on his sleeve. "Is it time for the wedding now?" "Yeah, buddy, it's time." He took his son's hand and walked toward the arbor where Sarah waited, beautiful in her simple dress, smiling at the chaos and joy of their assembled family. Jordan stood beside her, radiant and proud. Dean clapped from the front row. Even Layla looked genuinely happy. It wasn't the life Devlin had planned, but it was the life he'd chosen, built from the wreckage of his first marriage, stronger for having been broken and rebuilt. As Sarah took his hand and they turned toward the minister, Devlin felt something he hadn't experienced in years: complete, uncomplicated happiness. Not happiness despite his circumstances, but happiness because of them. "Dearly beloved," the minister began, and Devlin squeezed Sarah's hand, ready for whatever came next. Behind them, Michael whispered loudly, "Are they married yet?" And everyone laughed. Yes, Devlin thought, in all the ways that mattered. They were. 10 years later, Devlin stood in another church, watching Jordan marry her college sweetheart. Michael, now 12 and all elbows and attitude, served as an usher, taking his responsibilities seriously in the way only a preteen could. "She's beautiful," Sarah whispered, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. "She gets that from her mother," Devlin replied, glancing at Layla, who sat with Gary in the third row, both of them crying happy tears. "And the strength from her father, the strength she earned herself." After the ceremony at the reception, Jordan pulled him aside. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For showing me what a good marriage looks like. For proving that sometimes things fall apart so better things can come together. Your mom and I did the best you could with what you had, And then you both did better when you knew better. That's all anyone can ask for. She hugged him tight, and for a moment she was 5 years old again, asking him to check for monsters under her bed. "I'm proud of you," he said. "Right back at you, Dad." As the evening wound down, as the last guests filtered out and the band packed up their instruments, Devlin found himself standing on the church steps with Sarah, watching their assembled family say their goodbyes. Jordan and her new husband were leaving for their honeymoon in Ireland. Michael was spending the night at a friend's house. Layla and Gary were heading home to their quiet suburban life. Dean was probably going to hit a bar somewhere, despite being 15 years sober. "Good night?" Sarah asked. "The best," Devlin replied. They drove home in comfortable silence, past the house where he'd lived with Layla, past the apartment complex where he'd stayed with Dean, past all the places that marked the geography of his rebuilt life. "No regrets?" Sarah asked as they pulled into their driveway. "About what?" "Any of it. The divorce, the custody battles, the years of complicated co-parenting." Devlin thought about it, really considered the question. The pain of those early years, the uncertainty, the nights he'd lain awake wondering if he'd made the right choices. "No," he said finally. "No regrets. Everything that happened led us here." "Even the bad parts?" "Especially the bad parts. You can't appreciate the light without understanding the darkness." They sat in the car for another moment, looking at their house, their life, their future stretching out ahead of them. "Ready to go in?" Sarah asked. "Yeah," Devlin said. "I'm ready." And he was, ready for whatever came next, confident in his ability to handle it, grateful for the journey that had brought him here. He'd learned that love wasn't always enough, but it was always worth fighting for. That forgiveness didn't mean forgetting, but it did mean moving forward. That sometimes the best thing you could do for your family was to let it break apart so it could rebuild itself stronger. Most importantly, he'd learned that happiness wasn't something that happened to you. It was something you chose every day in small moments and big decisions. As they walked up the front steps together, Sarah's hand warm in his, Devlin smiled. He'd chosen well,